All right, here we are. I am so excited, guys, to be with you and to share my friend Christy Whitman. So I don't know if I told you the whole story, Christy, about like I actually don't know how I stumbled upon the book, The Art of Having It All. But after I read that book, I told everybody they had to read it. And it wasn't something that was like newly out. I had just stumbled upon it. And then once I found you, I went on eBay and looked for you.
eBay
eBay
to buy me?
looked for you. And I found those CDs that I told you about a long time ago.
Yes.
Because remember, I told you that, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a long time ago if you have CDs. Because, like,
Yeah.
how
We're
long has
talking
it been since
15
CDs?
years.
Yeah, because we don't play anything in a CD player anymore. But I walked around the house and I remember doing laundry, listening to this CD of yours. And because I got them on eBay and they were a little bit old, I had to really dig to find a CD player to play it. And
Amazing.
so I'm so glad that we've been able to meet since then and keep in touch and everything. And I'm excited to share your new book, The Desire Factor, with everybody. Yay! So, like, as you're hopping on, go ahead and like put in questions if you want. Hey, Katie. Katie launched her best-selling book Valentine's Day of this year.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a big thing to write a book and then to launch it and, to make it a bestseller. So I understand what goes into that. It's a lot. So
Yeah,
congratulations. That's something for sure to celebrate.
exactly. Yeah, and I am going to ask you some of those questions maybe other interviews haven't asked you because, my
Love it.
audience not only loves the law of attraction, but they are writers as well. So, first off, I want to ask you, since people don't know, like what your background is and how you became an expert in your niche. Like we know, because I already told them that you're a New York Times bestselling author, a transformational leader, that you've been on the Today Show, the Morning Show, TEDx, Hallmark Channel. I want to be on the Hallmark Channel, just a side note. And you've been featured all over the place. And you help people through like energy mastery, law of attraction, like I said, personal development classes, meditation, and you have private clients too, I think, so that people can live a more aligned with the divine design, right? Abundance, success, and all that great stuff. But I want to know how you got there. How'd you become an expert in this niche?
So about 24 years ago, I was living in Chicago and I had graduated from college, got a degree, got a job, started making money, was engaged to be married, and I was unhappy. And I was very much trying that traditional, if I get this, then I'll feel. And everything that I got felt very empty. And so that really led me on this, like, I did not have this language back then, right? It wasn't, I manifested everything. It was like, I achieved all that I reached, tried to achieve. I got all the goals that I set after, and I wasn't happy. So what gives? What is this life all about? Because I've done everything I thought was going to make me happy and I'm not. And so that led me on a series of different things that led me to move to Northern California. And I met a woman who was my hairdresser, and she was so different than anybody had ever met. And I blatantly just asked her, I said, what do you do? And she said, I meditate. Now, this is 25 years ago, where I had never met anybody that meditated. I didn't know anything about meditation. I literally had this paradigm in my head that there's some guy with a white beard with long white hair sitting on top of a mountaintop in a yogi position, oming. Like, that was my paradigm. So my paradigm just shifted when here's like a, stylish hairdresser living in San Ramon, California, really super joyful. I was like, wow, she was married, had a dog. Wow, that's a very different paradigm. And so she introduced me to her meditation teacher, Melanie. And Melanie literally said to me, the first thing she said to me is, you create your own reality. And something in me opened up. Now, this is before the internet. This is well before Secret came out. I'd never heard this before. And when she said that to me, I just knew it to be true. And so I just asked how do I create my own reality? And she started with thoughts. You're either repelling things from you or attracting things to you based on the way you think. And so that was my assignment, to then start paying attention to my thoughts, because I never before did, right? And
Mhm.
so I realized how negative I was and how judgmental and critical of everyone, myself included, especially myself. And so I really wanted to change this about myself, because I realized that, if I have this going on in the, inner tapes of my mind, no matter what I do, no matter what I accomplish, no matter what I have, I'm never going to be happy or satisfied. So I started to seek and study and just explore everything I could get my hands on, any person that I could teach, that could teach me the universal laws, and shifting from a mindset of lack to a mindset of abundance, and really what are the nuances about that. And about 5 years into practicing and applying this into my own life, I found a wonderful man I got married to, had my ideal body, had a great career, was making lots of money, had absolutely no debt, had bought a house. I mean, things were going really well. And I still felt a kind of an emptiness of, I wasn't feeling passionate or on purpose in the career that I was doing, because I was a pharmaceutical rep. And so I started cultivating what I knew. If I'm lacking something, or if I have contrast in my life, start to feel the connection. And that's where I started to feel purposeful and passionate about what I did. And that's when my first book, Perfect Pictures, 20 years ago, literally downloaded through me in the middle of the night, 7 nights in a row, 1:05 in the morning, it downloaded through me. And so I got the book published. I started speaking in spiritual bookstores and churches. What's amazing is that tonight I'm doing a talk for East West Bookstore. And East West Bookstore was the first store that brought me in to do a workshop and on Perfect Pictures. And so people in my workshop, I know it's like so full circle,
Yeah.
people in that workshop were asking me, do you coach? And again, back then, 20 years ago, I didn't know what coaching was. I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know what it was. And I would just have people call me on the phone. And when they did, and they would shift, and I would help them apply what I knew, they would have amazing results. And I loved that feeling. So I kept just following. There wasn't anybody back then teaching how to, be a successful coach, or how to start a
Mhm.
coaching business, or how to, how to anything coaching, right? It was like there was a speaking industry, people were teaching people how to speak, but not coach. And
Yeah.
so I just followed my guidance and followed the passion and the purpose, which led me to, where I am today.
Wow, that is really great. And you know what I've told people before is that one of the reasons that I love you so much is because you're just a real person. Like everybody
Yeah.
can relate to, if not the whole story, bits and parts of the story about not feeling fulfilled, about doing the things that we thought we were told that were going to make us happy. And then you get to that point, and you're like, wait, that doesn't feel like this is it. There's got to be something more. And that search that we go into, right?
Yeah.
And so I just love that you're so real about
Oh,
everything.
thank you.
So I want to ask you, with the desire factor now, you just talked about your first book. With the desire factor, what inspired you to write this book? I also love how you say that it downloaded through you, because in my program, Easy Writer, I talk about divinely downloading your book and not trying to rush and push it out of your head like with force, because
Yeah.
then it's not aligned, it doesn't resonate, it's not, you get to it and then you're just judging it and judging it. So now that you've written many books and the desire factor is out, what led you to that? Like, weren't you done saying everything? There was more.
No. Yeah, there's always more. There's always more, and what's interesting is that in 2018 I started to full on channel the Council of Light. And since then there's more and more, so much more. I've literally pivoted everything I do to Christy and the Council now. I don't really do coaching anymore. It's all me channeling and having the council coach. And so the desire factor is literally a download from them. And what's cool about it is this is my seventh book. And in that, it's like, now I know who I'm channeling, and the information is far way beyond. And, there's lots of people that talk about law of attraction. And I've had so many people that have said, wow, this book is really next level, which is like means everything to me, to hear that my work is so leading edge. But it's like, I wish I could take credit for it because it's my stories and
Yeah.
I share how I apply it, but the concepts are the councils.
Mm, cool. So who
Yeah.
would this book be geared for?
It's really geared for those people that are wanting to create a better life. They're wanting to take contrast and turn it into clarity. They're wanting to, really go after those things that they feel are calling them, that feel that there's more, that they
Mhm.
want to be more, they want to do more, they want to experience more, but they don't know how. And what I love about the desire factor, and when the council gave this to me, it's like, you don't deviate from these steps. There are literally 7 universal principles that you follow in order, like dominoes, and one affects the other one. And when you get them in the right order, this is going to make it so clear for so many different people. I have, I've trained and certified desire factor coaches that are going to start training, coaching people in July. And what all of them have said, because they got to read the book way before anybody else did, is like, oh my God, finally it makes sense. Like the manifestation formula is literally put into place where it's like, it is a step-by-step formula. Whereas so many people had pieces, like
Right.
pieces of the puzzle. And many times the pieces weren't going in the right place on the puzzle. Right.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like a padlock, that when you have a lock that you need to use a certain sequence in order to open. So many people had the numbers mixed up, right? They had the order mixed up. And so
Mhm.
I'm really grateful that it's now super clear. Anybody that's like, hey, I've tried to go for my desires before, but it didn't work out, it gives them hope, it gives them faith. It teaches them really about energy mastery, because the whole thing about this is that we're human, we're going to have contrasting experiences. And what do you do with that contrast? What do you do when you start moving towards a desire and it doesn't work out exactly the way you thought it should, or that way you wanted it to? You got to process the energy of the emotions and master your own energy and go back to step one, which is this principle of alignment.
Yeah. I love to hear your thoughts on the word want versus desire, especially since it's in your title.
Yeah. So it's kind of like this: there's need, which comes from lack. There's want that kind of comes from a satisfaction-y place. And then there's desire that's coming from this, like, really, it's just, it's so life-giving, right? It's so just, you almost like you have this desire and like, ooh, right? A want is like, yeah, I would want that. But desire has so much passion behind it. It's got so much life force behind it. It's just, it's so much more expanded.
So, do you believe that if you say you want something, you will just always want it until you switch your wording to desire?
Well, words are important, as you know. I mean, I have a whole series called Watch Your Words, because words are really, really important. So,
Yeah.
but it's not a one size fits all. Some people could say, I really want that. And it's like, it's a very positive thing. And the wanting is like, ooh, it's almost desire-y, right? It's like,
Mhm.
ooh, I want that. Right. And there's excitement and juice and energy in that. And then there's other people who can say, oh, I want that. And it's kind of like coming from, I don't have it. When am I going to get it? Right.
Yeah.
So it is the words, but it's the energy behind the words. I just had a podcaster that interviewed me a couple weeks ago, and she was saying that, when people say I appreciate, it's very different from I'm grateful for. And she was saying that when people typically say, I'm so grateful for this, usually it comes with, the story of why they're grateful for it, because they didn't have something before. And I said, well, it's not a one size fits all, because I could say, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. And it doesn't come with
Mhm.
the baggage of, so it's all very individualized,
Yeah.
right? It's like, one person can say, "Ooh, I desire." Another person say, "I want." It means the same thing. Whereas someone else, want means need.
Right, exactly. So, with the whole counsel and channeling, is that the piece that you believe makes you different from other people in your industry, or is there additions to that?
Well, without a doubt, that gives a different, higher, expanded perspective, because the
Mhm.
wisdom that comes through is like, first of all, the energy that comes through is amazing. The work, the information that comes through, and then the fact that they are infinite intelligence. So they can see within a person, and it's actually amazing, Vickie, like they can see exactly when in time a person got imprinted, help them release it, help them heal from it, and then be able to move on to be in a different place. And so I really think it's the combination of all the years that I've been applying, universal laws. So I give a very different human perspective.
Mhm.
There's not a lot of people that have been practicing universal laws as long as I have. Mary Morrissey, Bob Proctor, there's some people like that. But so I have all that personal experience. And I, like you
Mhm.
said, I'm just real. It's like, hey, this is what I did. This is my mess up. This is what I did right. Here's the information. I want to shorten the learning curve for everybody
Yeah.
and just teach from what I can to create impact and be able to help and serve.
Mhm.
And they do that through me, which
Mhm.
does, because for many years, it's funny, people would say to me, well, I've certified over 3,000 law of attraction coaches, right? So it's like, well,
Mhm.
what makes them different from you? It's like, well, first of all, it's understanding that there's no competition, right? It's like the coaches that I am certifying and helping, they're going to help people that I'm never going to know or that aren't attracted to me, but are attracted to that person. So I
Mhm.
never felt that there was any competition, but it is kind of nice to know that I am the only one that channels the council.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to switch a little bit to like the writing process for you in these last questions that I have. I know you've written many books. So how do these books come to you?
They come through, well, you met me through the art of having it all. So let's just start there, right? I was at an event, I was at a publicity summit, and I know you know the story, but I was pitching my other book, Taming Your Alpha Bitch. And I walked up to a woman that was from a writer for New York Magazine. She was a freelance writer. And I said, what do all New York women want? And she said, what? And I said, they want it all. And she started cutting like down the whole concept of having it all, saying that women can't have it all, they're overworked, they're not happy, they're pulled in too many different directions, they got to pick a lane and stay there, they can't be a mom and this and that. And I was like, what? Because in my world that I live in and people that I've attracted into my life, the community that I have, we believe in abundance, not limitation. And yet there are people that want to argue for their limitation. But how can you make a blanket statement of saying, you can't have it all? Because you're having it all and my having it all might be totally different, right?
Right.
And so I was saying to her, I'm like, well, she said to me, do you know anybody that has it all? And I said, yeah, I have it all. And I started listing all the ways I have it all. And then I said, my clients have it all. And she handed me back my one sheet and she goes, I won't be needing this because I don't believe you can have it all. And I looked at her dead in her soul and I said, like straight in her soul. And I said, and therein lies the problem. I turned around and I felt this like, it almost came up as like a heat, like one might say anger, but it was beyond anger. It was like my soul was stirred. And
Mhm.
I couldn't participate. I couldn't go and do the rest of the pitching that I was supposed to do. I literally went back to my room, pulled out a pen and paper, and woo, it just came and came and came. And I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. I didn't participate in the rest of the weekend because it was like I was literally in my room just writing. And I'm definitely a pen to paper writer.
Yeah.
I can do computer,
Mhm.
but usually when it downloads, it's like my hand gets completely independent of my own consciousness and it just goes. And so that was like this, bleh, it was like this whole thing. And then it was now take that what I wrote and put it in a Word doc, right? And
Mhm.
then as I'm putting in a Word doc, now I'm getting more insights. Now I'm getting, talk about that story that led to this concept, right? And then I
Mhm.
would write out my story. And I have an amazing editor that I absolutely love and adore. She is a godsend to me because I'm the channel. I bring through the concepts. I don't want to sit there and dot the I's and cross the T's. And that's just not I would never write a book if that was the case. I wrote perfect pictures like that. And my books and my writing are so much better now because I've got, someone editing it for me. But, Quantum Success, which was my last book before the Desire Factor, I was woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning on a cruise ship. And I'm like, okay, I felt the feeling. I know what's coming, right? My son's in the living room, sleeping on the hide-a-bed of the cruise ship. My son's in like the other son's in the little room. My husband's in my bedroom. I had the bathroom. So I took a bunch of, towels and sat my butt on the floor, the linoleum cold floor of the, bathroom in the cruise ship, pen, journal, and I was awake for quite a few hours, writing. And then at that point it was like story of, of this. And then I would have just make myself a note so that when I go to put what I have in my notebook onto a Word doc, I can then write out that exact story.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is that when you get the call, you get up or you do it whenever it comes. So many people will say, I've got a book calling to me. And then they say, later, not for me. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not there yet. I'm not expert enough. I'm not perfect enough. And, all that stuff. And from what I'm hearing you say is like, you just, when the ideas or the download come, you just obey and you sit down and you just go ahead and write because it's being channeled through you.
When it's coming in hot, I gotta capture it, because I know that if I wait, like what you're saying, oh, maybe later, there's been times where I've done that. Okay, I can't do that right now, or maybe later, then it's like, it's gone. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't like that feeling, because it's like this is coming in and I want to be the conduit for this wisdom to come through. As a matter of fact, when I was writing The Art of Having It All, it would come in at weird times. And I had to tell my kids and my husband, I'm like, guys, this is a very strange book. It's coming in at different times, just different insights. I'm like, if you see me pick up my journal, I always had it with me, journal and pen, always around. I went in the kitchen, to the bedroom, and went everywhere with me. I'm like, if you see me pick it up and start to write, don't mommy me, don't honey, where's the thing? Just give me a moment. Let me write. It won't take long. I'm not going to be there for hours, but I have to write down the insights that are coming as they're coming and what's being said, because I want to be true to this insight, to this information. And so they'd see me open it up and I'd be like, second, let and then I would close it and I'm like, now I'm back. Right. So yeah.
And I love that, because I tell my clients too, you need to tell your family why this book is important to you and about your writing process, and that, this is temporary. I will get back to you. I had a client once who she had to create a door hanger and put it on her closet. I'm assuming she had a walk-in closet, because she said she ended up sitting in there because that was the only place that her kids would not bug her.
Yeah.
So when you go through this process, like, how do you know that it's done and how long does it take?
The flow, like, so for the Desire Factor, which is the new book that just came out, this one was interesting because I got the title. I'm not really good with titles. Like I can't create a title. The titles either come or they don't. Yeah. And so like all of my titles literally were like Quantum Success. Okay. That's my brand. Right. But it's like I'm sitting there one day and it's like the Desire Factor. I'm like, ooh, I like that. I don't know what that is, but I like that. And then it was like, what is that? What is the Desire Factor? And then that question started opening it up. But this thing came in stages. The actual, what literally was like the seed that created everything around this book was based on, I was on another cruise ship. There's something with me, and I'm a water sign, but something me and water, being on a boat floating. I was in the Mediterranean. I had gifted my parents, my entire family, a trip to go to on a Mediterranean cruise. And when I was on the cruise ship, I'm looking at this Dolce & Gabbana bag that I bought. Now I have to kind of back you up, and I wrote about this in the Desire Factor and why this is significant, because this is the seedling of why this came through. Many years earlier, my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, and my mom and dad went on a 2-week trip to Italy. And one of the places that we stopped for 3 days was Venice. And for the first time ever, and I love fashion, I've always been like that. We went to Venice, and I was like, I think I died and went to heaven. Like, this has got to be heaven, right? Because it was like one after the other. It was Dior and Chanel and Fendi and Dolce & Gabbana and Versace. And I mean, it was on and on and on and on. And I was like a little hummingbird. I was like pulling my boyfriend, pulling my husband at the time, like, going into each and every store. And he, at the end, we went and had lunch, and I sat down, and he looked really worried. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he goes, "I don't think I can afford you." And I'm like, what? And he goes, you like really expensive things. And I said, honey, you don't have to afford me. I'll afford myself. But at the time, I had just left corporate America, started my own business, like literally 2 months before we went on this trip. And I was like, there's no way. I can't even justify, everything was going into my business of saving. I was being, mindful. I'm like, I can't buy anything. That would just not feel good. I said, but someday I'm going to come back here to Venice with you. And I'm going to go into any store and be able to get whatever I want, just because to have that freedom of choice as a symbol of my success. Right.
Mhm.
So here I am several years later, built a multi-million-dollar company, several books later, had success with 2 books that hit the New York Times, certified over 3,000 coaches, lots of success. And here was the day. We had a cruise ship. We were there for a day and a half in Venice. Morning was amazing. We were with my family, my mom and dad, my 2 boys, my husband and I were eating croissants and cappuccinos in St. Marco Square. The boys were having moments with the pigeons. We did the gondola ride, the whole thing. They went on the ship, and my husband and I did the shopping spree, right? So I went from store to store, again, like the little hummingbird, looking at what kind of struck my fancy. And I went into Dolce & Gabbana and I found this beautiful bag. It was less expensive than all the other stores, right? But it's like, that's the one that I felt like, that's what I want to choose. That's what I want as my symbol of success. This is going to remind me of this trip, right? So now I'm back on the cruise ship, amazing day. I'm unwrapping the gift for myself, the purse, and I'm looking at it going, wow, like this is such a symbol of success. This was such a desire factor that, wow, look at what I became. Look at what I did. Look what I accomplished. Look at how many people I impacted, right?
Yeah.
And then a voice said to me, that is so materialistic. And I was like, who said that? Where'd you go? I was like, wait, what? How is that materialistic? Because it's a materialistic purse. Because it's why is that bad? And then that question, how everything here is energy. Everything here, whatever we desire. Look at what that desire all those years ago when I was in Venice, to have the freedom to buy whatever I wanted to, not because I could buy or because it's about the material stuff. It was about the choice. It was about the freedom. Yeah. And look what I created as a result, right? It's like who I became in the process. That particular purse symbolizes that. Mm-hmm. Personality gets to go, ooh, look at the purse I have. But the divine in me became something so much more than I was before. Because what if I was in Venice and I was like, oh, all this stuff's too expensive. Yeah, you're right. I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
Denying what my desire, denying life force, wanting to become more.
Yeah.
So whether it's a purse or a trip or a business or a book or a husband or a kid or what, a meal, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever the desire is, it's going to lead you to become more than you already are. It's life flowing through us. It's the creator creating with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I could have this conversation with you for another hour, I think, about how we try to tell ourselves our desires are bad or that we shouldn't have, or like you said, it's materialistic, or if somebody else sees it, they go, oh, that person's materialistic because she drives a whatever, or she has a Dolce & Gabbana, or she loves Louis Vuitton. I tend to like the ones that have V's because my name is Vickie. So like Versace and Louis Vuitton happened to me, my ones, and Valentino, because they all have a V in it somewhere.
I love it.
But I want to ask you to share with people the extra gift they're getting right now with the purchase of the desire factor. So I'm going to throw a link in that people can use, and maybe you can give them a little more description of this $697 free gift that you're giving them.
Yes. So when you go purchase the desire factor, and there's a lot of stores that are online stores that are out of it right now. So you may want to even, you can go, offline, go to your local Barnes and Noble, get a receipt, or go online. I think there's Books A Million that still have books available. And even if you go to, say, Amazon or someplace where they're out of stock, if you purchase it and you go back to thedesirefactor.com, your link /Vic Gould, then you will have $900 worth of bonuses. So right away, you get 3 activation processes, meditations from the council. And on top of that, in May, we're starting a 4-week live coaching session that go with the council. So it's like I'm showing up, everybody's going to be there. The council comes in and they start talking on these concepts, and they ask questions or answer questions and that kind of thing. So it's literally just, it's going to be fantastic. And so that's a $900 value that you get for a, $14, $15 book. I almost said purse. $14, $15. I've got purse on my mind now. Book. So, it's really like the council said, we set this up because this book is a portal. It's like you get so much out of this book, but it's like you want to go deeper once you understand how important energy mastery is. And so these bonuses really help you implement the energy mastery.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I got the book on pre-order, I think, because as soon as I realized you had one coming out, I'm like, oh, I know I need to get it. So guys, if you're watching, of course you're watching, if you're watching, I threw the link in the comments as well, so that you can just quickly click on that. And then, like Christy said, you need to go someplace, get the book, put in your receipt, and then you'll get these awesome freebies. I cannot wait for all this stuff. Thank you, Christy, for being with us, and thanks for sharing all the juicy details about the behind the scenes of writing your book. That's the part I was so excited to share with people. Not that, I'm excited about the book too.
Well, hopefully it helps somebody, hopefully it helps someone here to feel inspired and just to kind of learn a different way of doing it. I mean, there's many different ways to write a book, and hopefully it inspired someone to just, not put it away and just allow the download to come and write it down when it does. So.
Exactly. I love that part, because too often I hear the story of, I've had this tugging at me for 10 years, and in 10 years, because it hasn't been that. When did you write your first book?
20 years ago.
Okay. So times 2, there's 7 books out. So like, what could have happened. Right. And I see how many people's lives you've changed, and this desire factor. I'm excited to jump into it and find out the 7 principles too, so I can use them.
Awesome.
Selfishly, so I can use them.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks for being with us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye, guys.